Not every clash on the grasslands is for food, and not every death is delivered by the largest predator. In a realm where speed and instinct rule, survival demands everything's silence, patience, and solitude. Heat radiates across the plains, veiling secrets of the cheetah, Africa's silent assassin of speed. As dawn stretches over the land, golden light spills across the earth, and the morning mist clings to the air while a soft breeze stirs the dry grass, carrying echoes of ancient times. At the grassland's edge, a figure glides swift, soundless, and poised, leaving no trace of its passage. No roars, no sudden leaps, only unblinking eyes fixed ahead, waiting for the perfect moment. A rare coalition of cheetahs, united in a hunt, though their kind is born to solitude, moves as one toward a distant herd of wildebeest. The leader halts, the wind favors them, and the terrain is clear. A young antelope, straying near the forest's edge, becomes the mark. Without a signal, the group fans out, each taking position as the grass bows beneath their weight. Only meters remain. The instant has arrived. Heat, 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 heat. Their heavy breaths slowly ease as slender bodies circle the fallen prey. This is more than a meal, it is the reward of patience, coordination, and instinct refined through countless trials. Yet the grasslands seldom let victors savor their success. From the distance comes a piercing laugh as a band of hyenas emerges, carrying the stench of greed and decay. They do not hunt. They wait for others to bleed and toil. Without pause, they charge forward, growling eyes wild with hunger. One edges closer, daring to drag the prize away. The leading leopard rises, unyielding. It does not run. It does not surrender. The others close ranks around it. No need for speed, no need for brute force, only solidarity. A single pounce sends a warning. A chase erupts, and the hyenas falter. They yelp, resist faintly, then scatter into retreat. Not out of fear, but because they know this meal is not for them. The entire pride stood panting. No one chased after the retreating hyenas. There was no need. On the blood-soaked ground, claws quietly tore into the first strips of flesh. There was no celebration, no triumph, only brief glances exchanged in a rare silence in a land that has never been fair. Here, survival does not belong to the strongest, but to those who know when to strike, when to hold back, and when to fight as one. They do not fight for glory, they fight for sustenance. And sometimes, that is enough for the prairie to spare them another day. The prairie stirs, yet life continues to thrive. On the trampled grass, blood slowly dries beneath the midday sun. The predators withdraw, their hunger satisfied, leaving only scattered fur on the bushes and an unsettling stillness drifting through the savanna. Not far away, in a flat stretch of low grass, life unfolds differently, slower, quieter, yet filled with a raw, primitive beauty. In the midst of the withered waist-high blades, a creature lies perfectly still, almost vanishing into the mottled brown and burnt yellow landscape. It does not move, it does not make a sound. Its belly rises and falls in rapid, shallow breaths, and then, between her hind legs, a small form emerges, a cub, wet and trembling, its patchy grey coat still damp from birth. The female cheetah delivers her offspring in silence, without a nest, without a den, without the support of a pack alone, but driven by instinct. It is only the second time in her life she has given birth, and her tiny cub's eyes, sealed shut, have fur as smooth as silk and bodies barely larger than a human hand. Cheetahs, celebrated as the fastest predators on Earth, are astonishingly fragile as mothers. After mating, which follows fierce and complex competitions among males, the female departs and spends nearly 90 days of pregnancy alone. No pack, no assistance. When the cubs arrive, she conceals them in dense grass, shifting their hiding place every few days to evade detection. In those first vulnerable weeks, she must hunt swiftly, eat quickly, return early, and above all, ensure no predator catches her scent. The cubs are born weak, their eyes closed for the first week, and only after 3 months can they run beside their mother. In that time, any mistake, a moment's hesitation, a careless sound, even a single drop of blood, could mean death. Hyenas, lions, leopards, and even large birds of prey pose constant threats. Conservation data reveals that nearly 90% of cubs die before reaching 3 months, victims of starvation or predators. Female cheetahs cannot defend their young as lions do. Built for speed and agility, they are lighter and weaker, than almost every rival in their domain. The only way to keep her cubs alive is to avoid danger, hide them well, and run when necessary. During the day, she lies motionless, ears alert, eyes constantly sweeping the horizon. At night, she hunts silent, precise, making no errors. A missed kill means more than hunger. It is the desperate cry of her cubs, a sound that could draw predators from the shadows. At around 5 weeks old, the cubs begin to follow her, taking their first hesitant steps across the grass. They learn to flatten themselves at the slightest noise, to separate the sense of friend and foe, and to heed the soft growls that warn of danger. They cannot yet run, but they must begin to understand survival. Unlike many other cats, cheetahs have non-retractable claws, always exposed like those of a dog, allowing them to grip the earth as they accelerate. This adaptation lets them surge to speeds of over 112 kilometers per hour in mere seconds. Early morning blankets the grasslands as the sun rises, casting a pale glow through dew-laden blades. The cubs sleep deeply, their small bodies curled, ears twitching faintly at distant sounds. Their mother has already left, slipping away before dawn to hunt. She stalks a solitary gazelle that has strayed from its herd. The wind is favorable, the terrain open. She presses low to the ground, gliding through the grass with lethal grace. Heat, 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 heat. She did not eat, she did not stop. She only lifted her head slightly before dragging the carcass back to where her cubs waited. As she neared, the cubs raised their heads. Their eyes were still dull, but their noses instantly recognized the scent of fresh blood. They approached cautiously, first nudging the fur with their noses, then licking at the open wound. Instinct soon took over. All three began to bite clumsily and awkwardly, tasting the world of hunting for the first time. They did not yet know how to tear flesh, but they understood its flavor. The mother lay close by, her gaze fixed on them. She did not need the food today, her cubs did. They needed their first lesson, not through words or guidance, but through the tang of blood on their tongues and the urgency in each tiny bite. The grassland remained breezy, the distant calls of birds carrying on their daily rhythm. Only the smallest creatures were changing, shifting from suckling cubs to emerging hunters, growing with each passing day. For the mother, a new phase had begun, teaching survival in a land where the smallest mistake could be fatal. That windy afternoon, the yellow grass swayed in restless gusts. The sky was overcast, heavy but dry, a faint chill hanging in the air, as though forewarning an unseen threat. The mother had returned from a successful hunt, a young gazelle's carcass dangling from her jaws, blood dripping with every step. She moved without haste. Her cubs were waiting in the bushes. As always, they would dash out first, squabbling over the tender pieces of meat. But this afternoon, only two emerged. She paused, her ears pricked, her eyes flicked sharply across the landscape. No familiar, careers, no familiar sense. The two remaining cubs huddled together, bewildered. The smallest, the most restless of the three, was gone. The mother laid the carcass down and began to sniff the air. The wind carried a mix of blood, damp earth, and baboons, a pungent blend of violence and a pack's triumph. She traced the faint trail of blood to a low mound where tangled grass concealed the tiny body. Limp, still marked with fresh blood, it lay motionless. There was no saving it. She stood frozen, neither hissing nor roaring, her vacant stare clouded with pain, as though every instinct of the hunter had been stripped away, leaving only the raw weight of loss. Then she turned. She did not return to her cubs. Her steps were light but purposeful as she advanced toward the trees where the baboons often gathered. Cunning, intelligent, and ruthless, they would attack small predators when fortune favored them. She neither roared nor charged. She crouched low, eyes scanning each branch. Then, sudden as lightning, a monkey screamed. The sound shattered the forest's stillness. From the bushes, more than a dozen baboons erupted, led by an old male with long protruding fangs, his cry splitting the air as he hurled the pack toward her. They did not fear. They attacked. Screeches tore through the trees. Their footsteps pounded the dry earth as the ground seemed to tremble. The mother panther retreated once, then twice, before suddenly turning and running, never breaking her gaze from the creatures that had taken her young. She knew that if she were injured, her remaining cubs would be left without protection. The baboons halted their pursuit when she vanished behind a low mound, screeching as though they had claimed victory. unaware they had merely postponed a reckoning. Her return was slow. Each step felt heavier, and each gust of wind pressed the dust tighter into the dried blood on her coat. In the distance, the two cubs peered out from the bushes, waiting with wide, searching eyes. She came back without food, carrying instead a hollow weight no meal could fill. As dusk descended, the last rays of sunlight painted the grasslands in molten gold, stretching the shadows of brittle grass and sparse trees. The wind fell silent, and the earth, scorched from the day's heat, began to cool like a body, surrendering its final breath. Through the fading light, three slender forms moved as one, the mother in front, her two cubs trailing weakly behind. They no longer bounded and played as before. Something had shifted. They had seen their mother weep in a language only they could understand. They had seen death, not from a distance, but close enough to feel it. And they had learned the harshest truth of this land: life allows no room for mistakes.